Hello and welcome to the MHR podcast. I'm Andy.
I'm Alice.
Alice, this week I thought we could talk about something that's we talk about a lot in a way, right? MHR, we talk about like empowering workforce, we talk about making sure they've got the tools they need to do their job, we talk about innovation, we talk about speeding up processes. One of the topics that I've been reading about a bit recently is the topic of employee autonomy.
Interesting.
What does that phrase mean to you?
Employee autonomy. I'm going to say it's about the responsibility as an employee you have on a day-to-day. Be the
Okay.
ownership of your work.
Okay. To me, it's more about the responsibility that's allowed to you from your manager to work the way you want. So I agree,
Interesting, okay.
but I'm seeing it more of a space of, what scope am I given to work the way I want to work or
Yeah.
can work, and how can I harness that to do the best job possible?
That's interesting. So you're
Yeah.
saying in your job role, can you be quite autonomous then?
I think I'm treated quite autonomously, which is nice. I'm at a point in my job where I think I'm given enough trust to be able to go, we know you're good at this. We trust you to get this job done. Sometimes it comes through the door like, I just need to do this now.
This
right?
needs to be
'Cause
delivered,
that
yeah.
happens, right?
Oh,
But
of course.
the main bulk of my job or what I look after is to go, no, you're the expert on that. We want you to build that your way. You work your own way. We just need to know how you're doing it, and we need you to update us. So
Yeah.
I feel like I'm given quite a lot of autonomy,
Yeah.
and I can work the way I like, which is good because I'm a creative person, and I like to be creative, and I like to work in different ways
Yeah.
to other people or how my brain works.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we kind of can talk about today: is what are the benefits of an autonomous way of working? What are the restrictions? And then how do we talk about that when it comes to, from a HR or a payroll or a finance perspective? How
Yeah.
do we do that, or a technology perspective? How do you encourage that?
Yeah, definitely. And it's an interesting topic, I think, to start speaking about because we talk about flexible work. We talk about what COVID's done to the workplace and how it's changed with people now working from home. But we're also seeing now a drive of people coming back into the office. So
Yeah.
speaking about employee autonomy and what that means, I feel like we are going to talk obviously the benefits, but actually the risk, because I think again it's a slight change in culture that we're seeing in the workforce, and it's quite hard to grasp, I think, exactly what it can mean on a general basis, because
Yeah.
realistically it's an individual thing, isn't it? And whether you thrive in it, obviously you do in your role.
Yeah, it's different learners, different approaches, different needs, and that's what autonomy can highlight as well. But a stat we had here would say, that there is always an ever increasing ground for a want for flexibility in the workplace.
Yeah.
We were thrown into a world where we had to be flexible and agile because we had to work from home.
Yes.
And then the cultural work changed in order to be more flexible and accommodate for those different ways. However, it's not forever sustainable for certain organisations. Nearly 1 in 4 UK employees are considering switching from a full-time employment to becoming a contractor or freelancer. And that is
Right.
linked towards the motivation that they want a more autonomy in the way that they work. They want to be in more control of their own destiny in the workplace and their approach, right?
I guess it's an interesting point, just picking up on that is 1 in 4. Because would you say that that's maybe showing a bit of a change in how people are approaching work? It's not just, I
Yeah.
guess, a transactional, okay, it's 9 to 5, earn my salary.
Yeah.
I feel like work is now becoming part of everyone's lifestyle.
Yeah, what are my difference am I making? I don't want to just turn up. I want to do things the right way, and I want to do the best job I can. And
Yeah.
I don't want to be told how to do that. I want to show people how we do it better. So one of the benefits of adopting an autonomous approach in the workforce is
Yeah.
that it can allow for this. It encourages flexibility because it focuses. You're getting a management or a leadership structure that are going, I'm not going to get stuck in the weeds of what you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you the space to work in your way and build your own processes. I just need to know we're both on the same direction and we're going to get to the same goal. But how you do that and the way you do that is up to you. And it's about harnessing your skills that you've got that I don't. There's no point in me micromanaging you. So I want to create a world where you can be yourself.
Definitely. And that's motivational, isn't it?
Yeah.
To say that you made a point earlier about being trusted in your role.
Yeah.
And I think to be trusted in your role, and then for your manager to say, actually, you are the expert in your area, or I want you to go ahead and develop these skills, but think about it. Think about actually where your limits are and where you can expand. That is a motivational method for the workforce.
And we've all been micromanaged before, right? Where we've had someone go, no, I want you to do it that way, this time, this way. I want you to say exactly that same thing. And then really you end up looking at going, well, why am I doing it and not you?
Yeah,
then?
exactly.
You know, what are you getting from me in my brain that works differently if you're not allowing it to work its way instead of just following your process? So, yeah. And to follow on that, the second point I wanted to raise, apart from flexibility, is innovation.
Which is massive for businesses.
Yeah.
Looking here at an article that we have, innovation is the driving force between many massive billion-dollar companies. If you take, for example, Apple and Netflix, they embrace creative thinking, which leads to new ideas. And in a world of work where innovation is frequent, they are the very big examples of how successful you can be if you allow innovation and allow the freedom of thought for your employees.
Absolutely, we're not all one mind, right? You know, and I think a good senior manager will go, I don't know how to solve this problem, but you do because you're the expert. I need you to think in your way to do that, so we can develop that as a team.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm not, there's no point me hiring everyone who thinks the same way as me. We'll never solve any problems that we're always hitting up against.
Definitely. And they're probably the businesses that end up stagnant, isn't it? Where they are maybe too process driven, or they micromanage at the end of the day. I think for a successful business to run, kind of the top layer is having the vision, and then your employees are there to achieve it in many different ways. It shouldn't just be that one method to get there.
That's why it's a vision and not a process, right?
Very
so
true.
An effective way to encourage innovation is just welcome independent thinking, approaching a platform from a different direction or a different skill that your employees possess that maybe you don't, is how you get innovation happening. So I think working autonomously enables that and encourages that. The other benefit that was raised was that you can then root out your future leaders.
Interesting.
Because if you can prove to someone, like, you gave this person space, they excelled. They managed their own time well. They managed this project well. I didn't micromanage at all. They've shown core capability of taking a project forward and enabling something. This is someone who has, the blueprint of our next team leader, manager, supervisor, whatever, because we allowed them to solve the problem themselves and they showed us how it was done.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the benefits. It takes a lot of trust, and there's obviously the flip side of that. Some people, that won't work.
Yeah.
But the benefits are there if you have the right people in place. They will start moving the direction of the business forward for you.
Definitely. And I think as well, for leadership opportunities, I think as well for the manager or the chief of the business, it allows them to focus on more important matters, not matters that are maybe more, they could even be admin based. If you're watching over your team and you're having to check in on them, it's a lot of wasted time. At the end of the day, the job should get done if you're motivating your workforce, right? And they have the resources that are there. Yeah. So if you're allowing the space and freedom for them to act more in a leadership role over their job, then it is allowing managers to work more effectively or what they're good at and not being bogged down. But then, like we say, it's down to personalities as well. So whether your employee will thrive like that, or maybe they do need a bit of direction. So at that point, it's encouraging an open chat about, what are the expectations from the employer and the employee? And
you touched on a really good point there as well in terms of motivation. Everyone hates being told what they need to do. And we get it that at work we have to do certain things that we might not care as much about. But the last thing is then to be told how to do it. Well, let me solve it myself. I care about it. Let me figure it out. I'm good at this job, so let me figure it out and I'll show you. That really motivates people.
Yeah, it definitely motivates me. What about you?
Yeah. I like to be creatively thinking about different things. Half of my problem is I'm really good at creating new solutions. I might not be great at then just doing them. I need to be put there at the top thinking about how I can solve this creative problem. That gets me excited, and then I enjoy coming into work and going, I can change how we work. I can make things better. We're going to do this. It's exciting.
Yeah.
But then, I don't want to be stuck in someone else's process.
Definitely. I think that kind of takes an example, though, of where you've allowed an employee the freedom to think and they have motivations. They come to work and they enjoy it. Yeah. Whereas if they're bogged down in being told what to do, processes, they're going to be disengaged as an employee.
Well, it's very much what you can't do, isn't it, with a process? You've got to do it this way.
Yeah.
Okay, why? Well, why bother? Anyone can do that. Only I can do the way I think. So...
Exactly. But then the point I wanted to make also is the fact that if you're not satisfied coming to work every day and you're not having the freedom, or you're not feeling like you're being supportive, you're probably going to walk out that business's door.
Yeah.
And go and look elsewhere, which is a massive problem for business at the moment when we talk about retention. But we're not talking about that topic today.
No, for once we're not talking about retention. But what do you think then the downsides? What do you think are the risks of a more autonomous workforce?
I mean, we keep mentioning that word freedom. So with that idea that, okay, you're allowing people to work at their own pace and to explore different ideas, but how businesses operate is process and audits. That's what protects them. That's what keeps, I guess, the engine running. So if you're allowing more freedom, it's the big question of, okay, how are you keeping on top of what's going on?
Yeah.
How do you know that we are delivering what we need to?
Yeah.
And it's, even though it says here that data does show that employees enjoy increased autonomy, so there's many benefits, you've got to remember as well that there might be a chance of burnout. And if you're not checking in on your employees, or you're not checking in that maybe certain processes are being followed, it leaves a very big question mark over, well, okay, what is happening?
Yeah. What are you recording?
Yeah.
You know, so I think you can be really autonomous, but I think you can also very clearly communicate at the very start what your expectations are of that. So do your own thing, work your own way, use your own mind how you want to do it, but we check in here and here and here, and we communicate this, this and this. That way you've got the space to work the way you want, but I also am plugged in and I can figure out what's going on. Otherwise, like you say, the immediate assumption is give people a load of space, or what if they don't do enough, or they're lazy, or they're not motivated, and they just get stuck and lost over there. The other flip side is, what if they try and do too much and they burn out, and you haven't got an eye on it, and you're like, whoa, you're doing too much, calm down, come back, let us look after you a bit. So there is a risk of that.
Yeah. And what are the other risks that you think there are, Andy?
I think you also have to very carefully manage expectations, like you mentioned before.
Yeah.
So it's hard to backpedal when you give people more freedom. And if you're going, okay, I'm going to check out these meetings a bit more, I'm going to drive you on that, I'm going to let you work in different places, I'm going to let you do different things, I'm going to let you be a bit more flexible for how you work. When that doesn't work, how do you rein that back in without annoying people because you've gone back on yourself?
Yeah.
That is a risk. So if you've got to be more flexible, you've got to do it in increments to show progress and growth and prove these things are working. You can't just dive deep in and then be like, this didn't work at all, and now I've got to ask you to work in an old way that you don't like.
Yeah, and then if you're going back on your word, then it's almost saying, okay, well, I don't trust you anymore to be working as free as you are.
Yeah.
But then I think you've got to consider as well that something like employee autonomy is not going to work for every business or department. There may be departments that it does not benefit them to work on a different kind of type of work pattern or have that flexibility. So again, I think it's really important that with the communication that you said there and putting the expectations, making sure that we're very clear from the start, maybe the reason why one team will work better this way than compared to another. But again, it's making sure that from the start it's understood and that it's not just favouritism.
And autonomy and empowering your employees can come in lots of different forms. We see it every day, right? With good HR tech, with good payroll tech, the idea of empowering your HR team or your payroll team, because actually if you can use live data to make sure that all your employees have access to a live pay slip, which means they're autonomously managing their own financial well-being. They've got a better sight of what's coming into them, and you're allowing your HR team to go, that's not my problem now. I don't have to micromanage communications to the workforce. They can see it all. I'm now focused on things that matter. I'm stuck at the weeds. Like, that's one thing that we do, right? The other thing is going, okay, you can work anywhere, anyhow, right? But we've got a platform where we can communicate anytime, and I can make sure you're plugged in. Right? It doesn't matter where you are. If you're all, you drive a lorry that way, but I'm stuck in head office, we're still on the same platform. We're still communicating the same way. It doesn't matter where we are. We're still communicating, and everything's clear. So I do think there's a lot of there with like HR tech that can support autonomy whilst making sure those key processes are in place and understood.
Yeah, and I think as well, if we take our People First platform, for example, where we're putting it in the landscape of, okay, you've got employees, here, there, everywhere, allowing that, empowering the employees to where you can share a post or you can give an update or create community pages. I think it also allows a community to thrive in the workplace, which again is going to come back around where people, even though they're all over, they're actually feeling closer because they're
Yeah.
able to share more. They might share more ideas, motivation. And again, it's almost that tumbling effect of, okay, it all starts from empowering your employees, but what else can that do for your business?
And isn't that what businesses want, really, in the day? Really engaged employees that are driving their own culture. Like,
Yeah.
a business wants to learn who it is based on how much their employees are getting engaged with it, because they are the voice. If they can start filling their, their people first news feed of all their opinions and stuff, suddenly we're like, great, we're communicating, we're talking, we're engaged. No matter what the debate is, the fact that we're having it is brilliant for the company.
Yeah.
So facilitating that allows people to be more autonomous and share their view and then learn from each other.
Yeah, and you said a key word there, which is engaged. At the end of the day, if you've got an engaged workforce, they're going to be more motivated. They're going to have more job satisfaction, and at the end of the day, they're going to be invested in the success of your business.
Yep. So no matter what approach you take, if it's autonomous or you're looking to stick, it's about making sure they stay engaged.
Yes.
And it might be one rule for one, one for another. It's how you manage that. But cool. Okay. Well, I feel like we've talked a lot about autonomy, more than I thought we would. So that's good.
I think it's been a good chat.
I think it's been a good chat.
Hopefully, it's been informative as well along the way.
If not, you decide amongst
Hopefully.
yourselves. That's the true power of autonomy. You can decide if you like this or not. If you did, you can join us next week and we'll be talking about something else completely different, but it will be in the world of HR, payroll and finance. So I've been Andy.
And I'm Alice.
We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.